Soundstripe. Soundstripe.
It's the last weekend of February / first weekend of March, whatever the hell you want to say, and you know what that means. It's AEW Revolution time. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Siterion Collection. I am your host, Simon. We're here with another edition of Siterion Selects, and this time we're going to be talking about what is probably the most excited I've been for an AEW pay-per-view since All In. Not to discredit all the other shows. I thought All Out was great, Wrestle Dream was great. Full Gear and World's End, they required the morphine a little bit, but this show, man, has just been booked so perfectly. The build has been booked so perfectly. And I think what's really great about it is that other than, I'd say, maybe 2, 3, if I'm being really generous, like 4 matches, it all feels very unpredictable. I could see a lot of different outcomes coming out from a lot of these different matches. There are certainly some matches that are more predictable than others, but I think the big ones, particularly the world title match, the main event tag team title match, and even particularly the stuff with Blackpool Combat Club as well, I think is really unpredictable, and I think a lot of different outcomes can come from that are all interesting and that are all exciting on TV, and we officially moved past the WWE Light era of AEW, which thank God. Regardless, let's not waste any more time. I'm looking forward to the show, and we are going to start off with what is probably going to be one of the best matches on the card, because holy crap, Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson is probably one of my favorite pairings in AEW ever, whether they're wrestling singles matches or they're interacting in tag matches or just having any backstage interactions at all, their promo back and forth. I think they are just fantastic together. They complement each other so well as characters and as wrestlers, and this time they're going at it for the Continental Crown Championship. This is the fourth match that they have had in AEW. Danielson is 2-1 on Eddie Kingston as of now. I thought both their matches in the Continental Classic, both when the actual match was happening and in the finals, were both just absolutely fantastic. They were two of my favorite Dynamite / Collision matches of last year. And seeing as Danielson is 2-up on Eddie, and seeing as Danielson has made it a goal to piss off Eddie Kingston at every single turn, Hater of the Year award. 2024 is the year of the hater, I think, honestly, between Danielson, Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles, just a absolute fucking majority of people. It's Hater of the Year, but this time the hater's not going to win. I'm going with Eddie Kingston to retain the Continental Crown Championship. I love Eddie Kingston, y'all know this. I do still have a problem with the way that Eddie Kingston is presented in terms of how often he defends that Ring of Honor World Championship, and even more, I don't think... Has he even defended the NJPW Strong title in the last 3 months? I really don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I'm some NJPW Strong mark. He wasn't on show episode number 72, so it's the fucking worst wrestler of all time. Regardless, I've loved this whole storyline with Danielson and Eddie. I could see them having Danielson win and Eddie's belts slowly start to fall away, kind of similar to when FTR was carrying all the tag gold for a long time a couple years ago, and then sequentially they eventually lost all the belts. I could see that starting here. I think they'll wait a little bit longer to pull the trigger on that. And I also think Bryan Danielson, he's the king of he's the king of taking a job, and I mean that in the best way possible because he's so selfless and he's one of the greatest of all time. But yeah, I'm going Eddie Kingston to retain the Continental Crown Championship. I think it should be a great match. Lumping in the Blackpool Combat Club stuff together, because I just feel like it makes most sense to. We have FTR versus Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli. This is coming off of a really solid Dynamite tag match. The FTR special of always going either to a time limit draw or going close to a time limit draw. I think this one's going to be the exact same, honestly. I will have no doubt in my mind they're probably going to run back that finish, or at least attempt to run back the finish of them making it right to the wire, except this time somebody's actually going to win. And I mean, I'm going to be blunt. Something's got to give with the Blackpool Combat Club. They're a great stable. I love everybody involved with it, but something's got to give with them. They've kind of just had the same gimmick running around. I don't even know where Wheeler Yuta went. It feels like he's been a complete non-factor in this entire build-up to across both of their matches. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if something else is going on with him. Regardless, he's been a total non-factor in any of this, and it feels like the Blackpool Combat Club, as great as they are, they're kind of just running in circles, and I feel like having all 3 members lose in one night is a good start to maybe moving on to something else. I'm going with FTR to win this match. I think this should be a great match. Again, it'll be the FTR special of pile drivers and sharpshooters and nearly going to the time limit draw. But I'm sure it'll be a very fun match. Their match on Dynamite was very good. I'm going with FTR to win, though. And it also makes sense just given who I have winning the tag title match later. You know, you could kind of put 2 and 2 together there. We have our second title match of the evening. This is Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong. Orange Cassidy defending the AEW International Championship. Look, y'all know me. I love Orange Cassidy. He was my Wrestler of the Year last year. His first run with the International Championship / All-Atlantic Championship is, no joke, one of my favorite, probably like top 5, maybe top 3 title runs in AEW history. The run of matches he was going on, the storytelling across that entire, it was a long reign, almost 10 months long of a title run. I mean, I know AEW usually does a lot of these longer title runs with the world titles, but really it stretched out very, very long time. It could have gotten stale. It feels like it never actually did, and I just absolutely adored it. This second run has been good. I've enjoyed it, particularly his matches with Dante Martin and Matt Taven. Can't believe I'm saying that about a fucking Matt Taven match in 2024. What's happening? That all being said, this title run is just not hit the same for me. And I think that's been a lot of people's takes on this second Orange Cassidy International title run. I've been seeing the term OC fatigue going around, and while I don't necessarily agree with that, I still enjoy watching him. I still think he's one of my favorite wrestlers going right now. We need to, at the very least, get him out of the international title picture. And I think there's a way to set up a good storyline with Orange Cassidy going forward after this, because they've been teasing all this tension with Trent and Chuck. I feel like we can move into something involving that. I don't know if we'll get the Trent heel turn. Trent joining the Undisputed Kingdom after getting injured by them would be absolutely fucking ridiculous. But this whole Undisputed Kingdom thing has felt very rushed on the whole until very, very recently. But regardless, I'm going to go with Roderick Strong as well. Roderick Strong, again, Player Hater of the Year award. This time I'm going with the hater to win, just like his fucking mentor, Bryan Danielson. I'm picking Roderick Strong to win the international title. I think he'd be a great choice to carry it. I don't even think he needs to have a super long title run with it, but this is what the Undisputed Kingdom needs. They need some juice, because, oh my god, if there's one thing that this goddamn stable is lacking, it's juice. And the only way to get some juice in this goddamn thing is to juice the title out of Orange Cassidy. So I'm going to go with Roderick Strong to slap the shit out of Orange Cassidy and take his title and break his back. And then we can write Orange off for a little bit, and when he comes back, people will be missing him, because rightfully so, because he's one of the best wrestlers in the world still. What was originally Meat Madness, rest in peace, is now the All-Star 8-Man Scramble, which took the place of Meat Madness because there was injuries involved, but the people advertised for Meat Madness as of then, including Wardlow, Lance Archer, and Brian Cage, as you could see in the graphic right there, they're still in the match. So, my theory going around is one of two things. Either the story that we're seeing lately from Dave Meltzer, who has just been on an absolute fucking roll of getting everything wrong lately, was that Miro and potentially Keith Lee were supposed to be involved in this match, but both men are injured, and it makes sense that's why they're not in the match. My other theory is that Mr. Chris Jericho wanted in on the show, and even though he was supposed to be gone for a few weeks on a tour with Fozzy, he came back so much sooner than I thought anybody anticipated, and now magically he's on the show. Y'all know my feelings about Chris Jericho. I don't make it a secret how much I do not like this Canadian man. God help me if he wins this match. If you subject me to another Chris Jericho AEW World Championship match in the year of our Lord 2024, that's fuck. Get the morphine, please. I'm ready for it. That being said, well, I think he's likely to win. He's on the more likely side of people to win. I feel like it's pretty obvious that Wardlow is winning this match. I cannot stress enough how much that one promo pretty much single-handedly saved my interest in Wardlow. It's no secret just how bad AEW has fumbled Wardlow in the last 2 years. He was literally their hottest babyface in 2022, next to probably Hangman Page, and I guess CM Punk, but the less said about that, the better. And for so long, it feels like he was just floundering, and every time they would start to pick up back with him, it would just immediately die off again. And he is very talented. I know a lot of people have kind of turned on the whole, I think Wardlow is mid. A lot of people have kind of feel like he's been exposed. I still really like Wardlow. I think he has a lot to offer. I think he is a really good wrestler, and I think he does have a very natural charisma in the way he carries himself. I hope that this leads to something better for him. And after that promo he cut, he feels like the only option here. The only other option I feel like makes sense would be Hobbs, but that's more so just because of his connection with Don Callis, and if they wanted to keep pushing the Don Callis family into the main event, I'll get more into that very soon, actually. But regardless, I'm going with Wardlow to win. No matter who wins the AEW World Title match, I'm not going to say who I predicted then. I feel like there's opportunities there to go with all of them. Definitely with Joe the most, but I feel like it can work for everybody. I'm almost tempted to pick Hobbs. The more I think about it, it's like it could happen. I think he could be a good surprise pick to win. Kind of like how last year he was the surprise pick to win the Face of the Revolution ladder match. But I'm not going to go with it. And honestly, we could write off Lance Archer. We could write off Brian Cage. We could write off the two surprises. Hook, he was in the AEW World Title picture. I don't see him going after Joe a second time. And I don't really see him getting involved with Swerve or Hangman either. I feel like he has more other stuff going on. I feel like they need to kind of gradually build up to him going for the world title again. Although that match with Samoa Joe was fucking aces. Regardless, I'm going with Wardlow. Moving on to match of the year. Look at it. Do I need to say anything else? It's Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita. I could just leave this here and put text up for who I think is going to win, and you wouldn't even care because it's fucking Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita in 2024. I can't get over how excited I am for this match. Everybody knows Will Ospreay is arguably the best wrestler on planet Earth right now. Takeshita is one of the most underutilized wrestlers in AEW. I hope to God that no matter what happens out of this match, no matter who wins, it's going to be Will Ospreay. By the way, he's my pick to win. I'm not really going to talk more than that. I'm just going to say it's going to be Will Ospreay. Whoever wins, I just hope both guys get a huge push going forward. And I feel like this is the bridge to get Will Ospreay out of the Don Callis family. Maybe he can have another match with Hobbs later down the line. That'd be fun. Honestly, if I'm being legit, I kind of want this to just be the complete implosion of the Don Callis family entirely, because Kyle Fletcher going back to Will Ospreay and then Mark Davis whenever he comes back and reuniting United Empire, that's the move in my opinion. I do love Takeshita and I love heel Takeshita, but it feels like the Don Callis thing has just not worked past the Omega feud. It was legitimately one of my favorite things going in AEW last summer and fall, and it feels like they totally dropped the ball on it, and it's nowhere near as hot as it could have been. And I like Callis with Hobbs the most. I think he fits the most with Hobbs. I wouldn't mind if Callis just went to managing Hobbs. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think it will ultimately end up being with Takeshita and Hobbs sticking with the Don Callis family. Maybe we'll get Ospreay and Fletcher versus Takeshita and Hobbs at a later show. Maybe a big business in Boston, potentially. Either way, this is my pick for match of the night. This could be a legitimate early match of the year contender. Ospreay already has the match of the year contender with Michael Oku from Rev Pro, but I feel like this is going to go even further than that. This is going to be fucking fantastic. I can't wait, and I'm going with Will Ospreay to win. Moving directly into the TNT Championship, we have Christian Cage in a bit of a shock, defending against Daniel Garcia, which I was not expecting. I really thought we were headed towards Adam Copeland, Christian Cage 2, or I guess Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage 4, really, when you think about it, because they had the Dynamite match, they had the match at World's End, and then the cash-in happened, so really it's their fourth match together in AEW, technically speaking. Maybe with a cage, maybe some kind of ladder stipulation. But Adam Copeland doesn't even seem like he's going to be on this show. He's not even going to be wrestling on the show, which is really strange to me. And, I mean, I'm sure 90% sure he's going to make some kind of appearance, and that's going to play into my pick for this match, because this is probably a bold choice. It's probably not going to happen. I'm picking with my heart. I'm picking Daniel Garcia to win the TNT title. The rehabilitation of Daniel Garcia has been one of the best things in AEW in the last few months. His run of the Continental Classic was fantastic. He's been slowly picking up more and more wins. He won that cage match with FTR against the House of Black. He was going to beat Adam Copeland potentially, and that's the whole point of the story. I think I would have had you beat. That's something that they could easily revisit down the line. And I just think it would be a great surprise moment, and I feel like you can get away with Copeland costing Christian the title, because Copeland's already beaten Christian for the TNT title. You already have that payoff. You're not going to get a better payoff than that. And you had the great spot with the cash-in, which was a great callback to all times. Edge has been the opportunist and done shit like that, which I absolutely loved. I feel like you can transition the Christian Adam Copeland feud into just being a blood feud. You can just go with them at Double or Nothing, give them lights out, give them steel cage, give them some kind of stipulation to blow off their feud before they inevitably reunite, because that's obviously where we're headed, and I think it makes the most sense that's where they're headed. I know a lot of people, I love heel Christian. Chair, Wyatt, I know you're watching. Hopefully you're watching. If you're not, you're fake as fuck. I know y'all love heel Christian, and I love heel Christian. I also don't think he should be heel forever, especially with Adam coming to AEW, because like that was part of the reason he said he came to AEW, is because his daughters wanted him to tag team with Christian. So personally, I feel like this is the beginning of transitioning Christian out of the patriarchy. Maybe we start to tease Kill Switch, Luchasaurus, turning on Christian Cage finally as the heel. Nick Wayne can end up taking over that. It would make the most sense. He could. It's proper like Darth Vader, Palpatine tier shit right there. And I'm going to go with Daniel Garcia to win. I feel like he could use it a lot more. And I feel like he would have, I think he could have a fucking fantastic run. I don't know who he would lose it to. I don't know where you would go from there. Maybe that's why Christian's more likely to win, because you have a set path. I'm going with Daniel Garcia to win purely because I want it more personally. This is one of the more, along with Ospreay, Takeshita, and the All-Star Scramble, this is one of the matches that feels the most predictable, unfortunately, although I am still looking forward to it. It's the best built women's match to an AEW pay-per-view in a very long time. It's Timeless Toni Storm defending the Women's World Championship against the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo is fantastic. As somebody who turned around on TNA or Impact in the last few years and is now quickly been stifled off of it because of recent events. I still think Deonna is one of the best women's wrestlers like going right now. I think she's super underrated. Her matches with Jordynne Grace were like, oh my god, just chef's fucking kiss. I would love a Deonna surprise win. I do still love Timeless Toni. It has kind of started to wane for me a little bit. I can't lie to you. It's still very entertaining. It's still hilarious. I still love the gimmick. I don't know if it needs the women's title. I'm almost tempted to go with a shock and pick Deonna, but my gut and my head saying Toni. I'm going to go with Toni Storm. I think there'll be some kind of shenanigans involved, probably with Mariah May and Luther. And I think this could potentially build to a rematch at Big Business in Boston, where maybe Deonna wins there, maybe Toni doesn't, and then whoever wins is holding up the women's title, and then out comes Mercedes Moné, and then that's your big Double or Nothing match. We head towards more than likely Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné at Double or Nothing. Mercedes will win the title there, I imagine, because you should just hotshot the belt directly onto her. She's the biggest women's star outside of WWE right now. And it's a shame that this whole thing kind of feels like a bridge to get to Mercedes Moné, but I think the match is actually going to be very good. I think this match is going to shock people with how good it actually is. And as much as I love Deonna, I think this is a great showcase for her. I'm still going with Toni Storm to retain. Definitely the most unpredictable match on the card. I still don't know who I'm picking. Most of the time when I do these predictions, or when I talk about predictions, I have my predictions like set up beforehand. This one, I legitimately have no idea who's winning the triple threat for the AEW World Championship between Samoa Joe, Hangman Adam Page, and Swerve Strickland. I'll break it down to you like this. My head is saying Samoa Joe. He's only held the belt for 2 months. It would be a shame if he only lost the title after one successful title defense on an episode of Dynamite. And he is still a really solid choice. We have to take advantage of this Samoa Joe run while we can, because I didn't think he had the setup. I thought he was cooked last year, and I thought his whole main event run was completely dead. But he's completely turned around and shown me that. I thought his matches with MJF were great. And I thought the match with Hook was obviously fantastic. So my head is going Joe. My heart wants Swerve Strickland to win the AEW World title. Swerve's ascension through AEW has been like one of my favorite things, not just in AEW, but just in pro wrestling lately. He has proven beyond a shadow of doubt that WWE bet on the wrong horse when they picked the rest of Hit Row over him. He is just such a compelling character. His mannerisms, the way he moves, the way he talks. He's such a fantastic wrestler. I can't really get like, if I'm picking somebody to be the figurehead for AEW going forward, it is Swerve Strickland, and he's going to be one of those guys that's carrying it forward for the next few years. Not to mention the fact there's been all this talk, Swerve Strickland would be the first black AEW World Champion. I think that would be absolutely fantastic, and I think it would be really cool if it happened this early into AEW's run. So my heart wants Swerve. And yet I have this weird gut instinct that for some reason, even though it really is the least likely option, Hangman Page could actually walk out as AEW World Champion. They've done a really fantastic job doing this double turn with Hangman and Swerve. Once again, Player Hater of the Year award, contender, Mr. Adam Page. Just look at that fucking mustache. He owns that shit. And whether he turned heel of his own volition, maybe he completely steps. Maybe he just takes a chair in the ring and he just brains Swerve and Joe with it over and over again. He just destroys them, takes the title, Steve Austin style. I've seen pitches for him to unite with the heel Young Bucks. I personally don't want that. I feel like you need to have them thrive on their own. I feel like you can't have the Elite always conjoined at the hip. That was the problem last year. That's particularly late last year with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, that they were conjoined at the hip and the storylines they were in were just not interesting and nowhere near as compelling as anything that they were doing separately. So, and we already did the big Elite reunion last year. If we did it again with them as heels, it would feel redundant. Regardless, I do think there's precedent for Hangman to win this match, potentially screwing Swerve and just being his own thing and going absolutely insane with it. So really, I'm of three minds here, and I feel like there's so many different ways this match can go. There's so many ways you can book the finish. Who gets pinned? Who pins who? Does Hangman cost Swerve? Does Swerve cost Hangman? Do they both cost each other? Does Hangman potentially cost Joe by accident, and then that segues into something? Does Swerve cost Joe, and that segues into something? All that being said, I'm going to go with Swerve. I'm going to go with Swerve Strickland to win the championship here because he feels like the main character of this whole build as well. That's something else I wanted to mention. The whole thing revolves around his journey to ascend to the main event that he's had this whole goal he's had ever since the Hangman feud started, becoming the first Black AEW World Champion, his tying into the feud with Hangman, which is kind of segueing into a feud with Samoa Joe. And honestly, as much as I love Joe and he's been shutting them down in all these promos, he's done a fantastic job of that. He still feels kind of like second fiddle to this feud between Hangman and Swerve. And particularly, Hangman is already feeling kind of second fiddle to Swerve. And I could very well see Swerve winning the title, maybe even snagging the win from Hangman to drive Hangman even more crazy. And then we could build back up to that. Or again, you could have maybe Hangman's about to beat Joe. And Swerve costs Hangman the match, or Swerve costs Joe the match, and maybe that segues somehow into Tweener Samoa Joe feuding with insane, crazy heel Hangman Adam Page. I have this vision in my head that we're going to get Swerve versus Will Ospreay at All In Wembley, because a lot of people have mentioned that. I feel like the likelihood of that is going down slowly but surely, but I still think there's a chance it happens. I'm going to go personally with Swerve Strickland, mainly because I want it, and because I think it's the best choice overall for the world title. And normally, this would be one of the most well-built AEW pay-per-view main events ever, but this is not going to be the main event. The main event is going to be the end of one of the most storied careers in professional wrestling history. It is Darby Allin and Sting defending the AEW tag titles against Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, AEW EVPs, the Young Bucks, in a tornado tag team match. This is obviously going to be very emotional for a lot of reasons. It's going to be emotional for longtime Sting fans. It's going to be emotional for AEW fans who have loved Sting's run like I have. It's just going to be emotional in general because it's Sting's retirement, man. And what better way to cap off so much emotion and just pull it all off, this harrowing story. The Young Bucks attacked his children. Sting's father just passed away a couple weeks ago. Him and Darby, they're going out on their sword. Darby's talking about how he wants to make this match memorable. Sting wants to make this match memorable. They want to fight. And how perfectly would this get paid off if not for the Young Bucks to defeat Darby and Sting and take the tag titles, because Heat, the glorious Heat, when they pin Sting, potentially in front of his children, blood streaming down the face paint gone, just have this wild match. It's going to be the Sting Darby special, where it's going to be them brawling through the crowd. It'll probably boil its way down to the ring somehow. Darby gets taken out, and it's just Sting, and he tries his best. He fights with all of his might. Maybe he can get a couple cool kick out spots, but in the end, the Young Bucks are just too much. They enter another level of depravity, just like they did when they attacked Sting and Darby the first time. They pin Sting, they win the tag belts. I know a lot of people want Darby and Sting to win because people really want Sting to go out on top, and they want to vacate the belts. I don't think that does much for anybody, though. I feel like if you pass on this big heat magnet of Darby and Sting, a team that everybody has loved for the better part of 3 years now, ever since Sting came to AEW, and is so beloved, and they've been such a staple of AEW TV for so long, and you pass it to another staple of AEW TV that's been totally reinvented in a brand new way. Whatever the direction they go in, I can't foresee an outcome where Sting and Darby win, and it's more satisfying. Darby's about to go off and climb Mount Everest anyway, so why would you have them win just to vacate it when you're not going to have anything to pass on to? And obviously Sting is retiring. I'm sure this is going to be a fantastic closer, not just to the show, but to Sting's AEW career. We have to thank Sting. I'm glad we got to appreciate him one last time after his WWE run was such an absolute flop. And I'm glad that it's getting a storyline fitting of this ending. I thought that promo that he cut where he talked about his father was like one of the best promos I've ever seen from Sting ever. And I think it's going to lead to a really emotionally charged match, and it'll be a spot fest. It'll be crazy, but I think this one's gonna have another, it's gonna pack a punch, particularly at the end. And I'm going with the Young Bucks to win the tag belts. That's gonna make a lot of people very angry, but I don't really care. I kind of love it because this gimmick is great, and if you're mad about it, you're doing exactly what they want you to. And with that, those are my picks for AEW Revolution. Just to recap, I have Eddie Kingston retaining the Continental Crown Championship. I have FTR defeating Blackpool Combat Club. I have Roderick Strong winning the AEW International Championship from Orange Cassidy. I have Wardlow winning the All-Star Scramble. I have Daniel Garcia winning the TNT Championship from Christian Cage. I have Tony Storm retaining the AEW Women's title. I have Swerve Strickland walking out as AEW World Champion. And I have the Young Bucks ending Sting's career on a loss and taking the AEW Tag Team titles away from him. Leave your predictions below. Are you excited for AEW Revolution? I know I am. I'm actually really looking forward to this show. Thank you very much for watching again. Once again, everybody, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, night, evening, afternoon, whenever the hell you're watching. This has been the Siterion Collection. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.